Alright, so we do have a huge, compact video for today. It says here, according to Fernando Polo, that Barcelona have started working on Operation Defensive Pivot, with two top players in their list, Joshua Kimmich and Amadou Onana, while Christensen is also an option. If a top player cannot arrive, Guido Rodriguez is a player they have under control. As a matter of fact, the Rodriguez option is so advanced that Fernando Polo continues to say the signing of Guido Rodriguez is under control. Barcelona want him as a free agent and for his experience. In parallel, they'll also be looking for a top defensive midfielder like Joshua Kimmich or Amadou Onana. Kimmich is also very well aware of Xavi's continuity. Tony Juan Martí also stated, Guido Rodriguez to Barcelona is very advanced. There is a deal in place that would sign the player for 2 years with an optional year. So what this basically means is that Barcelona are going to be looking at Guido Rodriguez to reinforce the pivot position, but he'll be seen as like a third or fourth option. Maybe even I would just say a second option, because Barcelona still want to go for a world-class pivot in this summer, which is why we still continue to talk about Joshua Kimmich or Amadou Onana. So in terms of who is most likely to come and reinforce the squad, here is going to be our option list. Joshua Kimmich is in the closest position to take on the pivot role at Barcelona. Amadou Onana will come in second. Zubimendi will be in third, and then Guido Rodriguez will be in fourth. I know that many are saying, didn't we just talk about how Rodriguez is going to be a Barcelona player? Why is he below Zubimendi? And Zubimendi has not even been talked about yet. I say that because, like I've said, Guido Rodriguez is going to be used as a sub or a super sub. We're barely going to see him play. He is going to be considered as our last resort in terms of who is going to be in the starting 11, which is why I do put him at the bottom. Joshua Kimmich is the most likely one to reinforce our pivot position within the starting 11. That is why he is on top. We're going to be seeing something very similar to what we saw last summer in terms of our right wing position. Remember how we wanted to reinforce our right wing position with Messi. Messi couldn't happen, so we moved on to Bernardo Silva. Bernardo Silva couldn't happen. Then we moved on towards Olmo, and then Olmo couldn't happen. And then Xavi said, okay, fine, we're just going to be relying on Dembele, and then Dembele left, and then we had to move on towards another option for the right wing. This right here is the exact same thing. If it can't be Kimmich, Onana. If it can't be Onana, Zubimendi. If it can't be Zubimendi, our last resort, Guido Rodriguez. Trust me, we're not going to be repeating what happened last summer with us signing Oriol Romeu only. That was a big mistake because we signed him and we're like, okay, we're just gonna move forward with this player and just see how it goes. It did not end up working out, and that is why Xavi Hernandez had to go through many different solutions. Like, for example, in the beginning of the season, our midfield was Cancelo, Frenkie, and Gavi when we were set for an attacking opportunity. It did not end up working out because it overexposed us at the back, and so we moved on towards Frenkie and Gundogan. We found out that between those two players, there was not enough defensive coverage. Then we moved on towards Frenkie and Christensen, which gave us the most balance. It was not the most ideal, but it gave us the most balance overall. So many might question, okay, Kevin, Guido Rodriguez might make sense, but why not just keep Oriol Romeu as one of our backup options for the next season? Why let him go? So when you compare those two players, you can very well see that Guido Rodriguez is an upgrade to Oriol Romeu as a backup option. In terms of defensive actions, the duels that you win on those defensive actions or offensive actions, and the progressive passes, Guido Rodriguez is an upgrade. And the reason why you see Oriol Romeu having much more on carrying the ball compared to Guido Rodriguez is because Guido Rodriguez is a player that releases the ball very quickly. He's not a ball carrier. He's not somebody who likes to take on the ball and move forward with the ball. That is simply not his game. When you are a pivot within Barcelona, you need to have the capability of receiving the ball and passing the ball as fast as possible, right? Quick 1-2 passes. Very similar to what Sergio Busquets did at Barcelona. Guido Rodriguez gives you that. Guido Rodriguez was part of the squad that won the World Cup with Argentina back in 2022. He only played one game, and that one game was against Mexico, where they won 2-0. He entered on the 57th minute, and that was about it. He never got the chance to play further minutes after that. He played way more back in 2021 when he won the Copa America with Argentina, but the reason why he is featuring less and less with the Argentine national team is because of the rise of De Paul, Enzo Fernandez, and Mac Allister. Those three players were immovable under Scaloni, and that is why Rodriguez could not see a lot of minutes. And if we look at his transfer history, he spent the majority of his years in Argentina and also in Mexico, and just a few years ago, about 4 years ago, he made a move to Real Betis, and so he also has La Liga experience. So to me, overall, it is a great audition, especially if he's going to be for free, a great rotational player and an upgrade to Oriol Romeu. I see no harm with Barcelona making this deal. So like I have said, just because we're going for this player, it does not mean that we're not going to be going for other pivots. We're going to try one by one, very similar to how we approached the right wing position in the summer of 2023. If it's not Messi, Silva. If it's not Silva, Dembele. If it's not not Dembele, Olmo. If it's not Olmo or Dembele, you get the point. And recently, we have just set our priorities. There has been multiple reports stating that Barcelona are going to be making the pivot position as the main priority, which is the reason why we're even talking about this right now and why we're talking about so many pivot players. It is because it is a huge debate in Barcelona right now. And so as of now, the way that they want to reinforce the pivot position is by bringing Joshua Kimmich. He is in Xavi's mind. And I know that there is this debate. I'm very well aware of it. And it is about how Kimmich is not a 6. Many are also stating that if you think that Kimmich is a 6, many are also stating that if you think that Kimmich is a 6, then you don't watch football. Others have said that Kimmich is just a Frankie 2.0. Good on the ball, but in terms of defensive qualities, he does not give you a lot. Even Tuchel, the coach of Bayern Munich, a few months ago, even talked about Kimmich as a holding midfielder, and this was his opinion. Joshua is our strategist who likes to do everything and can do everything. He's very good in assist and plays many penetrative passes, but the team needs a real defensive midfielder who thinks very defensively, takes care that nothing happens at the back, and who is more concerned with defense than attacking the opposition's box. And I do find this very strange, right? I don't know where Tuchel got this opinion from. Like, I don't know why he assessed Joshua Kimmich in this way, because if we look at these stats here that was recorded by The Athletic, and they used Smarter Scout to make these graphs, you can see they have compared Joshua Kimmich with the season of today and the season where he won all the trophies in the world under Hansi Flick, which was back in the 2019-2020 season. And I want us to look at the red bars. I want us to compare how Joshua Kimmich evolved his game defensively from that year and the season that we are in today. And when it comes to ball recoveries, interceptions, disrupting the opponent's moves, defending intensity, defending impact, Joshua Kimmich has almost the exact same stats of the one in 2019 and 2020, where Kimmich was considered as a great player within that midfield under Hansi Flick. Kimmich was world class, and he's still having the exact same stats today in this season. But for some reason, many have stated that he continues to be a defensive liability. And if you guys do not know, this graph is also recording only the minutes of Kimmich playing as a DM. That is why you do see 1,131 minutes as a DM and then 2,075 minutes as a DM. This is not recording the stats of him playing as a right back, so nothing is being manipulated. So in terms of ball recoveries, interceptions, those numbers are up in this season compared to the one that we saw back in 2019. So he's very good in closing down passing lanes. He also disrupts the opponent's moves through his tackling, fouling, maybe blocking sometimes, clearing down some lanes. So his defensive game is still very much the same. Yes, we can see that he does have a lower defensive impact, but he makes up for it by providing great stats in terms of ball progression, key passes, and shot creations. So he is still very much a world-class player when it comes to putting the ball into dangerous areas and keeping the ball under pressure. So let me put it to you like this. You have player 1 and player 2. Player 1 is an 8 out of 10 in defending qualities and a 9 out of 10 in attacking qualities. And then you have player 2, who's a 9.5 in defending qualities, but a 6 out of 10 in attacking qualities. Which player would you rather have? Player 1 or player 2? Player 1, right? Because player 1 is Joshua Kimmich. Not the best in the world, right, when it comes to defending qualities, but gives you so much more and makes it up for his attacking qualities. But again, very decent when it comes to intercepting, tackling, and blocking passing lanes. And that is where Xavi's head is at, and why he believes that he can succeed at Barcelona. And in order for you to succeed at a team like Barcelona as a pivot, you need to provide much more than just being a so-called defensive pivot. You need to add much more in the attack. This is what makes Rodri so special. I know that I keep speaking about Rodri, but he is the North Star on the type of player that we do need within the pivot position. He blocks passing lanes very well. He intercepts very well. But what makes him special is the fact that he gives so much in the final third, because he can carry the ball or receive the ball in high areas and act like a number 8. Here is going to be some stats about Rodri in the past 365 days and how he compares with other midfielders within the top 5 leagues. Do you guys not find it very strange that even though we talk about how Rodri is a great defensive midfielder, his tackles, interceptions, and blocks are very low? Do you not find that strange? But then when you look at his passes attempted, passes completion, progressive passes, progressive carries, successful take-ons, touches, the assist, shots total, like all of those attacking type of qualities, they're extremely high, but his defensive qualities are very low. Do you not find that strange? But the world still knows that Rodri is a great defensive midfielder. These are stats that you can say, okay, this does match up with Joshua Kimmich. Maybe part of the reason why his defensive stats are so low is because Manchester City hold the ball a lot and he does not really need to distribute a lot of tackles, interceptions, or blocks. That's fine. That's a very justifiable answer. But Barcelona are trying to do the exact same thing. They want to be a possession-based team just like City. And this kind of aligns to the vision that Xavi Hernandez has for his team. I know that I'm making this video too long, but there's too much to say. But going back to what I was saying, the next season that we are going to be seeing, we are finally going to be seeing a Barcelona team that is closer to the image that Xavi Hernandez is trying to paint. We're not going to be seeing the best team in the world. Like Barcelona next season is not going to be a world-beating team. I'm not saying that either, but we are going to be way closer to Xavi's vision than ever before. I mean, it will be pretty freaking cool if Barcelona end up becoming the best team in the world next season. But again, the point is progression to what Xavi Hernandez wants. And bringing in Joshua Kimmich will definitely push us a step forward. I also do want to compare Andreas Christensen with Joshua Kimmich so we can understand the type of upgrade that we are going to be having. I'm also going to be including the 2022-2023 version of Joshua Kimmich because on that season, he played as a pivot. He only had one game as a right back. And this season, I don't think that it is fair to compare him with Christensen because Kimmich has been playing, like I would believe 45% of the time as a right back, or maybe even more than that. So if you look at the 2022-2023 version of Kimmich, he gives so much more in defensive actions and the duel percentage is extremely high, way better than Christensen. And so if you want to have that conversation about the defensive pivot, right, having a great defensive pivot, Kimmich is an upgrade to Christensen. You can very well tell that Nagelsmann got the best out of Kimmich, and then you have Tuchel over here trying to figure out Kimmich, and I don't know why, when you know that his best game is to be in the central defensive midfield position. Just look at how amazing those stats were in the last season for him and how little he does provide now as a right back, and that is why in the red graph he does not give you a lot in the defensive action area. Now I do want to include Onana into this graph. I know that it is getting very convoluted, but he is the yellow one. Onana will be the second choice after Joshua Kimmich. If we cannot get that player, it will be Onana. Onana does not beat the 2022-2023 version of Joshua Kimmich, like at all. Like he does not touch Kimmich in anything besides the duels that you win. And this is me not trying to put down Amadou Onana. He's a great player, a player that will be so good in the future, and for sure he will succeed. But man, let me tell you, does Kimmich give you so much more? And we haven't even begun talking about the experience that he does carry and the experience that he does have over many of the other options that we are naming. Like really think about this, okay? Like really settle down with this. Barcelona, if everything does go well and Xavi Hernandez gets what he wants, in the next season within the midfield, Barcelona is about to have a midfield that contains the previous captain of Man City and the previous captain of Bayern Munich. Two world-beating teams. We're going to be getting two captains from those two teams, Gundogan and Kimmich. Can you not see what type of team Xavi Hernandez is building here? Like this is going to be amazing. Can you imagine Gundogan, Kimmich, and Gavi starting in the midfield, or Gundogan, Kimmich, and Pedri starting in the midfield? It would be freaking amazing. We can even say Kimmich and Frankie with Pedri up top. I don't know what's going to happen with Frankie. That is going to be for a whole other different video. But yeah, it would be such an amazing midfield with so much experience, and most importantly, experience about how to win the Champions League. Kimmich and Gundogan have been through that as captains. Xavi Hernandez wants to build a team that, yes, has great youth players like Lamine Yamal, Kubarsi, Gavi, Pedri, but he also wants to implement Champions League winners with Gundogan and Joshua Kimmich in the midfield. Is definitely going to be pushing Barcelona forward in all competitions, especially in the Champions League, and the youth are going to be learning so much. What a great sporting project this is going to be becoming. And so that is it. That is going to be wrapping up today's video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one.